Hey, what's up, guys? This is Benny Ricciardi with rotocurve.com, and I'm here with our Benny's Bat section for Wednesday, May 25th. It's a split slate today. There's 15 games, but 7 of them are going to be going off early, and 8 games are going to be going off late. So we're going to concentrate on the evening slate for today. As some of you might know if you follow me on Twitter, this is one of the worst slates for pitching I have ever seen. So there are quite a few bats that we can look at here today. I think the bats that you use are going to rely largely on which pitchers you have the most faith in today because, like I said, there really is no standout. On this late slate, there's no Chris Sale, there's no Clayton Kershaw, there's no Jake Arrieta, there's no guy that, I think everybody's going to be gravitating towards. The highest priced pitcher is Stephen Wright from Boston at like 8,800. And I really feel like there are 5 or 6 guys that could be in play, and I don't think any of them are going to be highly owned. So let's get right into it. The idea here of our Benny's Bat section, we try to look at every pitcher that's on the mound, figure out what their weakness is, and then figure out which bats profile to do the best against them. So let's start right at top with Arizona against Pittsburgh. Ruby De La Rosa on the mound for Arizona, right-handed pitcher. Been pretty solid in 2016, but in his past, left-handed bats have been the way to attack him. Left-handed bats have always hit him hard, have always hit him for more home runs. So looking at this Pittsburgh team, Gregory Polanco had another monster game yesterday, had a 2 RBI single, had an RBI double, hit a 3-run home run in the first. I think he ended up with like 30 DraftKings points. This guy's been a monster since they moved him up into the 3 spot in that order. So again, I think this is another good spot for him. He's been scorching hot. He gets a good matchup. Definitely going to have some shares of Polanco, and he is worth paying up for. People need to start realizing this guy's putting up 20, 30 points on a regular basis right here. He's one of the elite bats that we have in the league right now. You can also look at John Jaso, 365 WOBA, 172 ISO for him. Leadoff hitter, gets those extra at-bats up at the top of the order there. Not going to give you a ton of upside, but he's a really solid, like 6 to 10 points just about every game, so a good guy for cash games as long as his price stays low. It's starting to creep up a little bit, but even at 3,500, if he gets you 7 to 10, he's giving you 2 to 3 times value, which is not going to kill you. I also like Andrew McCutchen, 368 WOBA, 199 ISO, 7 of 22 lifetime against De La Rosa. And then, Young Ho Kong, 365 WOBA, 195 ISO. I still can't say this guy's name right, so I apologize if I butcher it, but you guys know who I'm talking about. Basically, the top 4 guys in that Pittsburgh order, if you want to stack them up, you can even throw in Sterling Marte. It gets tough when you throw Marte in there, though, because then between McCutchen, Marte, and Polanco, you basically wind up with, 3 guys that are just about $5,000 at the outfield spot. And if you're doing that, it's going to be very tough for you to get other bats and pitchers into your lineup. On the other side of this game, we have Jeff Locke, the left-handed pitcher. 2015, 2016, right-handed bats have hit about 290 against them. He does have a low home run rate, mostly because of his home ballpark in Pittsburgh, I think. But right-handed bats definitely the way you want to go after this guy. Paul Goldschmidt, 429 WOBA, 229 ISO score. Wellington Castillo, 385 WOBA, 301 ISO score. Yasmani Tomas, 378 WOBA, 227 ISO score. I like all 3 of these guys a lot. These are the 3 guys that have a little bit of power. 3 guys that all have big WOBAs and nice ISO scores against left-handed pitching. So I think all 3 of them are in play. Although, like I said, Locke doesn't give up a ton of home runs, so I wouldn't be looking for all 3 of these guys to go yard. I also think you can look at, Gene Segura leading off for them, maybe a guy like Brandon Drury or Paul Goslin if they're batting in the 2-hole. Goslin's pretty cheap. He usually does hit against left-handed pitching up towards the top of the order. So if you get either one of those guys in there for cheap, they could be guys that you might want to look at as well. Next game we can talk about Toronto at the New York Yankees. Marco Estrada is on the mound for Toronto, and this guy actually has really good numbers. You look at his numbers for the last 2 years, we're talking like a 200 batting average to both right and left-handed bats. So it's not like either side of the plate is hitting him all that hard. The Yankees do have great BVP against them in their history, though. Jacoby Ellsbury, who's starting to heat up on the top of that Yankee order, 6 of 17 lifetime against Estrada with 3 extra base hits. You got Brian McCann, who's 8 for 20 lifetime against them. Mark Teixeira, 3 for 9 with 3 home runs, so each one of his 3 hits has gone yard. And then even Carlos Beltran, 7 of 24 with 3 home runs as well. So like I said, Estrada's been a pretty good pitcher, but it seems like the Yankees kind of have his number. It's one of those situations where, this is just one of those teams where he can't seem to get these guys out, these left-handed bats at the top of the order. So I do think the Yankees make for a sneaky stack here today. I think Estrada is going to draw a lot of attention and be one of the higher-owned pitchers. But like I said, after looking at the BVP and seeing how these Yankee bats have done against them, I don't know if I think that's a smart idea. I think the Yankees are going to be all right here. On the other side of this game, we got Ivan Nova. Left-handed bats last year were really the way you wanted to attack them. So guys like Smoke and Saunders are probably the better bets. He's been pretty good in his limited innings since being called up here. He's still not going deep into games. He's not a guy that I would use. They're still kind of rounding him back into form. But he's been tough on right-handed bats. So normally when Toronto plays against a right-handed pitcher, you got guys like Joey Bautista, Donaldson, Encarnacion who are going to be at the top of the order. All these are like 280, 290 WOBA guys with like 230, 240 ISO scores. Very, very good numbers. They all stand out based on the numbers. But like I said, Nova has been pretty tough on right-handed bats in his career. He's not lights out, but he is a lot tougher on him. So I don't really think this is a great spot for the Blue Jays. I kind of like the Yankees more than the Blue Jays. And, I am a Yankees fan, so maybe it's my bias, but I think the Yankees could have a pretty good game here. Next game up, we got Colorado at Boston. The aforementioned Stephen Wright, the knuckleballer. He's been very good this year. I mean, you can't really argue. He's getting about a strikeout per inning, low ERA, low whip. I don't think he's as good as the numbers we've seen from him here in the early going, but I don't think he's a bad pitcher either. There really isn't a lot to go on here. There's not a lot of BVP history for Colorado against the knuckleball pitcher. The right-handed bats have been hitting right a little bit harder, even though he's righty on righty. So I think guys like Story and Arenado are probably your best bets here. But I got to be honest, the way I'm looking at this game is, I'm kind of staying away. I know Wright is going to be one of the highest owned pitchers on the slate. He is the most expensive pitcher. So it's probably a situation where I think I'll have a stack of Colorado in a tournament. And then, I hate to say it, but at this point, because the pitching's so weak, I think Wright is actually one of the pitchers I'm looking at to start today. On the other side of this game, we have Chad Bettis. And Bettis is not as bad away from Coors Field as people make it out to be. But this is a really tough matchup against a really good Boston team. Right-handed bats have a higher average against him. He does have a low home run fly ball rate, though, so I don't think we're going to see a lot of home runs. But they could wind up, kind of carouseling a bunch of singles and doubles and putting up some runs that way. I don't think it's a huge scoring game for Boston, but I do still think they're going to get 5 or 6 runs because, let's face it, limiting this Boston offense right now to 5 or 6 runs is actually an accomplishment. The right-handed bats I kind of like, guys like Mookie Betts, Dustin Pedroia, Xander Bogaerts. Hanley Ramirez left the game early with an injury yesterday, and Travis Shaw was sitting out with an injury, although Hanley ran the bases after his injury, and then Shaw came in to play for him after that. So both guys may be in the lineup today. I don't think either one of them is too hurt, but just make sure you check the lineup and see who's in there or not. Shaw against right-handed pitching has been really good this year, 364 WOBA, 204 ISO score. Jackie Bradley Jr., another guy, left-handed bat, just absolutely on fire, 378 WOBA, 274 ISO score. He has a hit, I think, in 27, 28 straight games. He's been very, very good this season. And then obviously Big Papi anytime against the righty, 429 WOBA, 339 ISO score. Absolutely huge numbers for him against right-handed pitching. So I really like Big Papi as well in that situation. Next game we can talk about Miami against Tampa Bay. Matt Andriese is going to be pitching for Tampa Bay, and he's been really good in 2016. Last year in limited innings, left-handed bats were the way to go up against them, so that's probably what I would look at here for Miami. Like I said, if you look at his numbers from this year, it looks like the guy's near unhittable. He's been lights out. So Ichiro, who's been leading off for them with Yelich banged up, he's been on fire as the leadoff hitter. I think he has like 7 or 8 hits in his last 14 at-bats or something crazy like that. He doesn't give you a ton of upside. He's not going to hit a lot of home runs, but this is a guy that can get you multiple singles in a game. He can steal a base. He can score a run or two, and he's going to get you his 10 to 12 points that way. He's still kind of cheap in a lot of spots. He's no longer minimum price, but he's still pretty cheap. So he's definitely somebody I'd be looking at and trying to get into my roster. Derek Dietrich, another guy, been hitting out of the 3-hole lately for them with Yelich hurt. If Yelich is back, it's interesting to see how they'll juggle around that lineup. 370 WOBA, 216 ISO score for Dietrich. Had 2 hits again yesterday against a right-hander. Just a really, really solid hitter. I really like this kid. Then the other guy is Justin Bour, 362 WOBA, 259 ISO. Left-handed bat against right-handed pitching, has a little bit of power. Solid WOBA score, has been, knocking in some runs as well. So I like Justin Bour too. Next guy we can talk about, Justin Nicolino on the mound. He's a left-handed pitcher. Right-handed bats doing better against him. I like the top of this Tampa Bay order against left-handed pitching right now. You got Brandon Guyer, who's been killing left-handed pitching for a while. Evan Longoria, who's hit left-handed pitching hard his entire career. And then you got guys like Souza and Steven Souza Jr. and who else am I missing here? Oh, and Pierce as well. So you got Pierce and Souza, who 350 wobas, like 220 ISO kind of guys. They do have a little bit of pop. They've been solid. They've been getting a lot of hits, and they're hitting up there towards the top of the order. So I think you can look at all four of those right-handed bats. I think all four of them are in play, and I think all four of them actually make pretty good plays here against Nicolino. Next game, we can talk about Milwaukee at Atlanta. Junior Guerrera, left-handed bats have been doing a little bit better against him. He's had two monstrously good starts back-to-back. I think he had like 24 or 25 fantasy points, followed up by like 30-plus fantasy points over here on DraftKings. You know, Atlanta is not a great team, but they do have a lot of left-handed bats that they can throw at him. Two guys that kind of stand out to me. Freddie Freeman, 380 WOBA, 227 ISO score, easily the best left-handed bat and the best hitter on this Braves team, so he makes some sense. You can look at guys like Inciarte and Markakis, who are hitting up towards the top of the order. I also like Malik Smith. I have no idea why they're putting this kid all the way down and burying him at the, at the end of the lineup. I guess they're just trying to take it slow with him because he's a rookie. But his 365 WOBA and 215 ISO are actually the second, or 213 ISO are actually the second best numbers against right-handers on the entire team behind Freddie Freeman. So he's another guy that I like too. Maybe if you're going to do a stack, you can look at something like a 8-1-3-4 wraparound stack kind of deal. That's probably the best way to play it with this Atlanta Braves team if you're going to take this offense. Remember, though, this offense, has been pretty much historically bad. They have some of the worst power numbers we've ever seen. WRC plus is very low. So, it's not really an offense that you want to target if you're looking for upside. On the other side of this game, we got Mike Folty-Newitz. Left-handed bats the last 2 years hitting over 300 against them. Right-handers are still hitting about 260, so it's not bad. The reason why I give you his numbers against right-handers is because this entire Milwaukee team is right-handed. Julio Teheran threw a gem against them yesterday because he's tough on righties and he didn't have to face any of the lefties. Guys like Ryan Braun, 362 WOBA, 200 ISO. Jonathan Lucroy, 351, 157. Those are the power guys that you want to be concerned with. Chris Carter with the big ISO score. He's always somebody that could get a, one swing home run for you. I also like the left-handed bats at the top of that order, though. Guys like Villar and Scooter Gennett. These are guys that could be getting on base, causing some trouble, stealing some bases, and, getting knocked in by some of these big bats behind them. Folty has been really bad to the left-handers, so the guys like Villar, the guys like Scooter, I'm not a huge fan of Neuenhuis. Presley, another guy if he does get in there. But Scooter and Villar, I think you can definitely look at. Next game up is Baltimore at Houston. Got Colin McHugh. Right-handed bats, a little bit of a reverse split the last couple of years. Right-handed bats hitting 280 plus against them. This year, he's actually been horrible to left and right-handed bats, so it really doesn't matter. You can use anybody against them. I do think there's some upside in this game. Guys like Manny Machado, homered yesterday, 390 WOBA, 252 ISO. Chris Davis, who was a little disappointing yesterday, but just such a good hitter and, so much power. 404 WOBA, 333 ISO for him. And then even Jonathan Scope, 365 WOBA, 253 ISO. Pretty big WOBA ISO combination for a second baseman. So with a guy like McHugh who struggles in righty-on-righty matchups, I do think this is another good one that we can look at. On the other side of this game, we got Tyler Wilson. Left-handed bats hit about 285 against them. He's tougher on right-handed bats, but he's still not great, so I think the right-handers could be in play too. The one lefty that really stands out is Rasmus. His 238 ISO score does have some pop, hits fourth in that order. And then Springer, Altuve, and Correa, the three righties at the top of the order. All three are right-handed bats with pop. Wilson's a guy that gives up a lot of fly balls, has a high fly ball rate. And this game is in Houston, which is a good hitter's ballpark, a good home run ballpark. A guy with a high fly ball rate, if a couple of those fly balls carry, that could be a problem for him. So I do like some of the right-handed bats towards the top of the order. I don't think I would stack this team up, but I think you can pick and choose one or two of them, and you might be able to catch a home run here against, a guy with a high fly ball rate. Next game, I'm going to talk about Cincy at the LA Dodgers. We got Dan Straley on the mound for Cincy, who is a converted relief pitcher that's arguably been the best pitcher they've had this year. He doesn't go deep in the game still. He's only giving you about 5 or 6, but, lefties and righties are both hitting like 230 230-ish below against them, 240 below against them. The problem that I have with this Cincinnati team is, as we know, this bullpen is horrible. So if Straley's only going to go 5, but then they're going to need to get 4 innings out of the bullpen, Straley could shut this offense down and limit them to maybe 1 run on 4 or 5 hits. But as soon as the bullpen comes in, they're all going to get lit up. So, a lot of right-handers in that bullpen. So I think we want to look at it the same way we look at Straley. Guys like Seager, 363, 190. Jock Peterson, who I really like, 357, 227 tonight. You got a righty on righty and Justin Turner. Turner had a pretty decent game, had a couple hits, RBIs, 354 WOBA, 178 ISO. Hits out of the 3-hole most nights for that Dodgers team, even against right-handed pitching. And then Adrian Gonzalez, 354, 207. Gonzalez has actually been somebody who he's kind of on my not play list right now, mostly because he's just not producing to the level that you would expect him to. Yesterday I really liked him and he stood out based on the numbers. And then you go and you check his price and he was like $4,700. I'll never pay up $4,700 for Anthony Gonzalez. I just don't think he has that kind of upside. He's not a guy that, I would expect to double down. And now that I said that, he's probably going to go out and do it today. But, it's just my thought. There are so many other good options. On the other side of this game, we got Scott Kazmir pitching. Left and right-handed bats have been pretty even against him over the last 3 years, giving up about a 240 batting average to both sides of the plate. Zach Kozar, 381 WOBA, 238 ISO against right-handed pitching. Eugenio Suarez, 378, 219. I think both of those guys are going to be in play for me this game. And then you also have Joey Votto to look at, who's always in play. Even in lefty-on-lefty situations, he's still basically a 400 wood guy with a 180 ISO. So those are the guys that I'm interested to see what Josh has to say on his on the bump article about the pitchers today, because I got to be honest with you guys. I mean, like I said in the opening, not really sure which way I'm going to go right now as far as pitching. It's pretty ugly on the slate. Next game we can talk about, and the last game actually, is Oakland at Seattle. Hisashi Iwakuma pitching. Left-handed bats last 3 years, definitely the way to go after him. 270-ish batting average. He does have a low home run rate, though. There's not a lot that I love in the Oakland team. They somehow managed to figure out a way to score some runs. I never really used Billy at the top. I do like Stephen Vogt, who slid into the 3-hole as long as ready for that injury. He's a 343, 198 WOBA ISO kind of guy against I said Iwakuma has always been tougher on right-handed bats, like a 200, 210. That's about it. Last game is Zach Neal. That pitcher up is Zach Neal making his first start in the majors. You look at the left-handed bats against him. Robinson Cano definitely stands out to me. 366 WOBA, 205 ISO. Guys like Seth Smith, Kyle score against right-handed pitching. So he's the last guy that I think we can put in there on the list today. So that wraps it up for the 8 games that we have today for the Benny's Bat section. Thank you guys for joining us at rotocurve.com. And as always, stay classy, DFS.